Welcome to the Take Your Health Back Now podcast. It is Kendra Duquette and Jenny Wise here. We are going to talk about your immune system today and kind of the difference between reactive state, which is where most people are, and the responsive state, which is where most people want to be, and how that's different, the ways you can get there, all the kind of how-tos and what's on this topic. It's pretty important. It's just a little bit different perspective, same concept that we talked about before. So we'll jump in.
Yeah. So the whole idea is if you truly want to eliminate your symptoms and restore your health, and then ultimately prevent chronic symptoms and, disease in your future, you have to shift from this reactive response state that we're all in to a calm response state. So the problem is that our immune system, it's kind of like if you've listened to us before and we talk about the threshold bucket, it's just we are bombarded with everything coming in all day long, no matter what you're bringing in, what you're thinking, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what's happening outside of us. All of this is causing the immune system to overreact all the time. And that overreaction is causing autoimmune conditions where your body is attacking itself. It just can't keep up. It's just leads you down the road to disease. Okay. So you have to get out of that state. And the thing to remember, so if you're going to actually truly heal, not just eliminate your symptoms on a superficial level, but actually really heal the body, you have to get out of the reactive state, number one, and then you have to get into this responsive state, is what we call it. So the responsive state is how your body should actually be responding to everything around it, and responding internally with its functions. So
right, like your immune system is there to help protect you, to fight against invaders. That's it's a normal response, and it should in some cases be more extreme than others, but it kind of is always on the lookout. But it should be able to be on the lookout and then say, oh, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. It checks things out. That's like the first line of your immune system. And then the second line is when that one says, oh, there's something bad, come here and let's fight it. A reactive state is where it's just like anything that comes in, we're fighting.
Right.
And that's
it's like that dodgeball analogy. If you listened to us before, maybe you've heard me talk about this, but that's always what it reminds me of. It's just so much coming in, and your immune system's like, just reacting to everything across the board, and you cannot heal. You cannot heal. And the other thing is, when your immune system is having this reaction to everything coming in, everything that's foreign to us, it is reacting to. But also then your nervous system all of a sudden is keeping you in fight or flight mode all the time. Right. So, if your body thinks there's an emergency happening 24/7, it doesn't put any energy towards actual healing, actual resting, digesting. It's just constantly in this emergency state. And that is where most people, even children at this point, are residing. And there's no way you can heal. And that's why a lot of these, like conventional medicine will give you a medication, an injection, an injectable, or surgery that will make you perceive that you feel better, or more of natural approach, homeopathy, or natural practitioners will give you supplements, and they will give you these magic drops that are going around, and the potions, and what we talk about a lot, all of the therapies. There's still treatments, even chiropractic, treating the nervous system. You still have to address this reaction that your immune system is having.
So you might be like temporarily relieving that symptom that you're feeling. So you get some relief and you feel better. but your immune system is still reacting. So it's like you've removed something or you've covered something up, so you're no longer feeling it. And then you just have to go through that buildup again before the immune system has got those symptoms coming up that you're noticing that you're feeling. And those things that you've covered up are still festering. So those are also going to eventually kind of break through and create symptoms again. So you can see how it may give you some relief, but that will give you the illusion that you are healthy, which is bad. So, sometimes when we work with people, we will do some of these smaller therapies at the beginning because we're giving them some temporary relief while we know that they're working on this underlying issue to create this positive foundation. So, if you're going to do those therapies, they have to be in conjunction with other things, with lifestyle change, with changing from reactive to responsive state at your most basic level, or else they're actually going to cause more harm than good long term.
Right. And they're not sustainable. That's the other thing. None of these that I just listed off are sustainable. Because if you take them away, the symptoms are going to come right back,
Right.
or worse, right? So whether it's medication, you take it away, all of a sudden your symptoms have, or if it's a supplement, I talked to somebody recently that was taking 22 supplements and felt great, but that's because it is, why did you have those deficiencies in the first place? Why
Right.
do you need these things? So if you take those away, all of a sudden the symptoms are going to come back or worse, or even like, chiropractic. It's helping with the nervous system. It's helping with that flight or flight response in the moment. And maybe, they've taught you some, stomach massages for the GI tract to, get things moving. But if you take those away, that it did not truly heal anything. And so that's what we're saying, that if you really truly want true health and healing, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And the other piece, we talk about this a lot too, but this takes time. So if you're going to get yourself out of this reactive state, and can you imagine what it took to get your body into that state? If we do everything that we can to address that, get you out of that state. And then step 2 is that response state, which continues your healing. So if you think about, you've got to allow the body time to heal.
Right.
Just a big time factor. And then that's how you
Right.
truly heal and then prevent. And we talk about regeneration a lot.
Yes. And if you are, middle age or older, then maybe you're thinking about, where did this start or how many years did it take? And it's kind of like you're doing this math. Like, they say if you were with someone for 10 years, it takes 5 years to get over them. Like everyone wants that like timeline. But everyone's going to be slightly different and everyone has different exposures. And now we're seeing kids who basically have never had a healthy system or were never in health and wellness. It's getting them to a state that they've never been in before. So it's going to take a different amount of time for everybody. And this is one of those things where you really, really have to just be patient and continue with it and like celebrate small things, keep a positive mindset on why you're doing it, and keep these things in mind because we're so conditioned to, okay, well, now I've got this pill I'm taking. Now I don't have to think about it. I just do that every day and then it's fine. Or I got this surgery, so now I can do whatever I want. I don't have to think about it ever again. Where we're trying to teach people to really create new lifestyle habits and change that you continue to do even when you're feeling better.
Right. And you have to remember that all of these chronic conditions that people are experiencing are lifestyle diseases.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. It's your lifestyle. And even remember your lifestyle of your parents that are now passed on to you, and then the lifestyle that you continue on. This is what keeps you in that reactive space. And you have to change your lifestyle, everything coming in order to have that change. Can't have
Yeah.
change without changing.
No. And that's a hard one for people because a lot of times when you say like lifestyle disease, people get a little bit, I don't know, like defensive, I guess, because they're like, well, I don't smoke or drink or do anything crazy and I eat pretty good. So then it's not my lifestyle. It's not my fault. And the thing is, we're not placing blame on people. We're not saying that you did this on purpose or you made terrible choices. What we're trying to convey is that everything in our lives is causing these symptoms. So you really have to become aware of what is in your, immediate environment, your little bit farther out environment, and then the environment as a whole, and see where you have control and really be proactive and make those choices instead of kind of just letting it happen to you.
It goes so in depth that that's where so it's so involved and it's so hard to do on your own. And think about, we talk about aging a lot, and people think of aging as superficial, like how you look, wrinkles, and my skin is sagging, and you're not as strong as you were before, that type of thing. But the aging process is also whether you're heading towards disease and symptoms, chronic symptoms. You're always chronologically aging, but you don't have to be aging. You can still do regenerative aging, or I like to think of it as ageless aging, where you don't really feel, you just feel good. I mean, that's what you want to be. But you cannot do that in this reactive state that we're all in. And then the other thing, I just wanted to say that everyone can create this responsive state. I mean, it's very rare that people get to the point in their lives where they can't turn this around.
Right.
If you have so much damage after so much time where you've not made change, then maybe, but the body always has the ability to heal. You're either healing or going towards disease, or you get to the point where now you're going to die. I mean, that's like literally, your body is always wants to heal,
Right.
but you have to stop that reactive state and lower that threshold bucket. And if you've never heard us talk about that, maybe go back in the podcast, or I think we have a video on our website, and that's a really good analogy. And, this is really the same thing. But that is truly the only way to turn it around and then prevent. And that is always the goal with this. So, and just remember that I just keep saying so much about these easy peasy, like magic
Right.
magic drops, magic, like the Ozempic thing. But
Right. But they don't call it magic because when we call it magic, we're kind of like
and it sounds
calling
weird.
it out for what it is. But the marketing around it and half of it's not really, it's like sneaky marketing. It's like social media. This is my experience with this thing I did instead of, like commercial. And they're basically saying like this thing that I'm ingesting or injecting is so simple. It had no terrible side effects, and the only thing that's happened has been positive. So because these positive things are happening, that means I'm healthy. But, there's not a lot of long-term information on these new things. So who knows where you'll be. Remember those like diet potato chips that came out? Was that like the 90s or the early 2000s? It was like Olestra. So it was a fat that had no fat in it. And then they realized that it caused anal leakage. But only after it was like way out to market. Like things like that happen, and you don't know what you're, internally you don't know what's going on because it takes a long time for those internal dysfunctions to become external symptoms. And think of it the other way. If something is immediately creating all of this positive change and you haven't done anything, That's something to be like suspicious of, this whole precautionary principle that we're always talking about. You need to understand how something works before you use it.
Right. And I think that's the big thing with this is, well, two things with what you just said. So one is the timepiece,
Yeah,
because we talk about it takes time to heal the body, but it also takes time to get sicker and sicker and sicker. And remember,
right,
that's what chronic means. It's slow progression of time, a little bit at a time. And the other thing with these magic bullets, they are, you should step back and think about the fact that, okay, you're feeling better and maybe you've lost some weight and maybe you've, whatever it is that gave you the perception that you've healed. But if you have not changed anything in your life,
right,
you can very clearly see that this is not going to help heal the body, because like we just talked about, these are all lifestyle diseases and you have to change to have change. And on top of that, it goes really deep with all of this is coming in and causing this metabolic dysfunction within the body. And even if you start making a lot of changes, you still have to heal that. Because, if you have leaky gut, if all of this coming in and your body reacting and your immune system not being able to keep up, okay, now you can get things like infections and leaky gut. Well, when you have leaky gut, anything that's coming in that should be going out is now leaking out into the bloodstream where it shouldn't be. And that causes an autoimmune response where your body starts attacking itself, like we were talking about. And that's a metabolic issue that is caused by all of this, that now is causing a autoimmune reaction, which adds to that reaction of the body,
right,
keeping you in that reactive state. So you can see how it gets really in depth and
right.
how it is just too much to do on
And
your
a lot of these medications actually just shut down your immune system.
right.
So their solution is your body is now to the point where its internal environment is causing it to attack itself. Autoimmune. Your immune system is attacking itself. Instead of fixing that environment, the idea is just shut off the immune system. So you're not changing from reactive to responsive, you're changing from reactive to no immune system, which will stop those external symptoms because you have no immune system to cause the system or the symptoms, but it also stops your immune system from doing its actual jobs, which is why it's, if you listen to those like commercials or if you read the packet for these medications, they are all talking about you're going to be more prone to infection. You shouldn't travel. You shouldn't get vaccines. You shouldn't do anything. You should sit in a bubble and be happy and healthy. Because yeah,
Sure, but it's because your immune system is literally off, and then
yes,
you are more susceptible to everything.
right. So that environment is still occurring. You're just not reacting to it. And anything else that comes in is just going to add on top of that and cause more issues. You need your immune system to be in its normal functioning state. You want it to respond to actual threats. You want it to be able to learn and grow. That's what it does. It encounters something new, it kind of studies it. If it needs to fight it, it will. If not, it lets it go. And then it remembers that for next time. Like that is how it works. And it's not doing that at all if you're just turning it off.
Right. And you also have to remember, I think people think that the immune system, all you have to do is take vitamin C and zinc for your immune system, things like that. But the
Yeah.
immune system is very, very complex, and each system of the body has a piece of the immune system. So, like your GI tract, when say you have leaky gut, now you've got an autoimmune response to foods coming in. Well, when you take immune suppressants for that particular response, say you have Crohn's, and now they're giving you immune suppressant at the GI tract level, it focuses on, it doesn't turn off your entire immune system. It turns off that immune response in your GI tract, or, if there's a nervous system, immune system. So there are many different layers to your immune system. It's not this just generic term to throw out there.
Yeah.
But you just, drink elderberry syrup and take your zinc, but that's it. It's very complex. And there are a lot of different drugs that they're using right now that focus on different areas of the immune system and turn it off.
And most of those drugs, like we're talking about how we want to educate you, our audience, so that you understand how these things work. But most pharmaceuticals, the doctors that prescribe them and the people creating them really don't understand their function either. They just know that we're taking something that sort of works in this area and we've figured out how to make it shut things off. And they're not even sure exactly how that function works. Like we scientifically don't even understand why sleep is necessary or how it works. Like there's so many things in the body that we just don't quite have that scientific knowledge of. And people assume because a doctor has prescribed a medication that is legal, that there is like a process that makes sense. It's actually going in there and fixing things, and it's not. It's like Kendra said, it picks one area to turn off, or it picks one symptom to cover up. And most of the time, we're not even sure how that functions. So, how can we understand how that's going to cause health or disease in the future if we're not even sure of the function when it's working?
Right. And the other thing to think about, a lot of these drugs, I was thinking about this just because of the Ozempic or those GPS one, there's a lot of different ones now. But there is, I read today that 1 in 8 people, that is a substantial amount of people in the United States, is either on one of those or has tried it. Yeah. That's crazy. They just came out. And the other thing is, we talk about long-term studies, on health. Okay. Probably none of those. But the other thing that nobody has done any studies on, and this is what makes this a huge, giant experiment on anyone that is trying any of these drugs. And this is a lot of the, the drugs for, I don't know how we got totally on drugs, but like the drugs for Crohn's, we work with a lot of Crohn's patients that you can totally turn this around. You can heal from this. But those immune suppressant that makes you feel better, but you don't have to change your lifestyle. What happens when you quit taking that?
You don't. Like your doctor will literally tell you, this is the solution. You're going to be on this for your whole life.
Right. Because there's been no studies at all on what happens if you can't get that. Or the Ozempic is what made me think of it, because they're talking about that a lot just recently.
Well, and most of it's off, not off label, but off. You're using it for weight loss, which is not what it's meant for. It's meant for diabetes, and that is just a side effect. So basically, if you need it for a medical reason, then you're going to have access to it. If you were using this for more of a cosmetic or convenience reason, then it's not an actual need. So if you can't get it, the doctors aren't going to be that worried about it. You're paying more, you're essentially just buying it off the shelf. Now you can't get it, now you can't afford it. You're going to have reactivity to it, but nobody's going to explain that to you. Essentially, nobody cares. I know that's harsh, but why would the company producing it do a study about that when they want people to continue to consume it? Like they don't care what happens when you get off of it because they don't want you off of it.
Right. And if you're taking something that paralyzes your GI system so that you can lose weight, what happens when you don't take that anymore and you've been paralyzing your GI system over and over and over? Or, like with the autoimmune response, shutting off your immune response. Now what happens when you don't take that anymore over time? What has now happened to your body? So you have to think about those things too. And we got off topic a little bit, but But that's the whole idea. And the whole idea is once you get out of that reactive state, which we can, this is why, what we do, we have such good results with, you get you out of that, but you also have to continue on this healing path when your normal response, and then we call that regenerative state, where you're actually regenerating. And that's where it's more like ageless aging. So that by the time you get whatever age, as you age, you're not having symptoms build up. You're not getting sicker and sicker. You're not, you feel amazing. You have more energy. Why not? That's just,
most people will actually be like the healthiest they've ever been sometime in the future if this is the path they're taking. So if you are here and you're just starting out or you're just learning about this other side, like focusing on health and wellness, building a foundation instead of focusing on disease and covering things up, most likely where you are now is the least healthy you've ever been. You're in the most state of dysfunction because you're always going towards disease or dysfunction if you're not going towards health. So where you are now is always either the most healthy you've been or the least. If you turn it around and you're going towards health and you're working on that every day you're going to be healthier. Every day you are going to have just a little bit where you're feeling better. If you're not doing anything, then every day you're getting sicker and you're going to have a little bit where you're just feeling worse. You're never static. That's not how it works.
And just remember, as a side note, that all chronic conditions, whether it's disease, because that's when, you get sick enough that they start labeling, or just symptoms, or whatever it is creeping up on you, it takes years and years and years before you even feel it. So, just kind of keep that in mind. It's not something that just falls out of the sky and hits you one day and you're like, oh no, it's very slow progression. So lots of people say, well, fine.
Right. And humans are one of the few living animals or just living beings that can deal with a huge level of dysfunction and just continue. Like your body will do things to keep you alive. So you might not even realize that the state you're in right now is not optimal. Like you don't realize how much better you could feel because you've never really been there before. Your body is just reacting, but that's your kind of normal level. So you don't understand even what that state of responsive health feels like.
Right. And if you think about it, reacting in a way, I mean, babies are reacting, they're having allergies and different responses. And then if you're giving them formula, they're on the vaccine schedule, they're getting all of these, constant bombardment with more and more and more toxins, and they're already reacting, and they're just a baby. Imagine their life if we don't turn this around. So really that's kind of it in a nutshell. And just the whole idea is just to remember that you can eliminate these symptoms, you can restore your health, and you can prevent them, in your future and the rest of your life. But this is the way that you have to do it.
Yeah. A treatment doesn't create health. It just treats a symptom.
Yeah. Which is the same idea. So just hopefully this helped. I mean, it's just kind of a different perspective, but hopefully it resonates because you can 100% turn this around.
Right.
If you do.
It is the time of the year when everyone's talking about the immune system in particular. So it is a good time to kind of step back and think about what that means instead of just the keyword of, oh, boost your immune system because everyone's sick. Really think about what the immune system does, how it reacts, what it should be doing, kind of take all this information in and process it. And hopefully then you can make the choices. That's all we want.
Here's a really good example before we hop off. I just popped into my head. So we recently, this year, worked with someone that had HIV, which is an immune disorder where your immune system is completely tanked. It's not working. And she had been diagnosed for a long time, like I want to say 10 years or more.
Yeah.
And just doing this, getting her out of that reactive state, getting her back into the response state, all of her symptoms that she was experiencing when she came to us went away. So for somebody with HIV that is all about having zero immune system, for her immune system to start healing and those symptoms to eliminate, that's huge. So that's a really good example. And we're hoping that she will get retested from her conventional doctor, like a year down the road, just to see
Right.
where her immune system markers are. So we know on that, but just the way she was feeling and the symptoms she was having. So that's just one example, but because HIV is an immune disorder, it's a good example.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is
She
really,
can do it, so can you.
I mean, really,
Yes.
yes, for sure. But you have to do it.
Yeah. You got to do the work. You can't just take the magic bullet.
Right, exactly. So hopefully that helped. And hopefully you all have a wonderful day. And we actually, I think we have one more podcast.
Of the year. Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
So yes, if you're listening to this in, real time or close to when it's live, happy holidays. Remember, keep yourself healthy, set boundaries, don't get sucked into all of the craziness that I feel like the commercials are just extra this time of year. So take time for yourself. Remember to think about all information that's coming in. Don't just accept things at face value, including us. You can check us. Yes, and we will see everyone again next week.